Welcome back once again, and the name is Kwakudapa. Alright, so in today's tutorial, we're going to talk about loops in Python. So, there are two types of loops in Python. We have the for loop and the while loop. Okay, so a loop is used for iteration over a sequence. So, for instance, if we have a list or a tuple or a dictionary or a set or even strings in that we want to loop through to pick out a value, we can use either for loop or while loop. Okay, so loop is used for iteration. It iterates over values a number of times until the condition is met. Okay, so the first example that we'll talk about is using or looping in a list as an example. So we will create a list called, let's say, a list called fruits. Okay, so fruits is the variable that we want to store our list in. And to create list, you use the square bracket. So fruits, first fruit will be apple. Second fruit will be mango. Third fruit will be, let's say, pineapple. Then grapes. Okay, so now this is what we have as our list. And the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to loop through using loop or iterate through the list using for loop. Okay, so what you need to do is you just write for loop. So for x, so x is just a variable. So for x in fruits, it can be anything. So for x, for I, in some programming language you see I, it can be a, it can be fruit, however that we want to. Okay, let's use fruits. So for fruit in fruits, what do we want to do? We want to print fruits. All right, so let's run this and see the output. So you see that for loop will iterate over the list in which is stored in the variable fruits and list them one after the other. So this is how we can loop through lists and output the list in this manner. Okay, so this example will give us or will let us understand what happened when we loop through using an index. Okay, so we are going to loop through, or let me create another variable. So let's say we have variable region, which is equal to Greater Accra. All right, then we want to use for loop to loop through. So this is a string. The first example was a list, but now we are going to loop through a string. So for x, we can use x in region. Okay, so what do we want to do? We want to print. So always don't forget to bring the semicolon. So we want to print x. So this will iterate through the word Greater Accra and list all the letters in this order. So for x in region. Accra. If I change this to, let's say, Kumasi, it will loop through and list the words one after the other. Okay, so the next example I want to talk about is using breaks to break a loop. Alright, so I will copy the list or this example and paste it here. But before we print out, we would like to introduce a break. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll print X or print fruit. In our case, we use fruit. So I'll print fruit and I will introduce if statement. So if fruit is equal to, let's say, mango, then there should be a break. All right, so let's run this and see the output. So what this means is that we are trying to tell Python that even though we want to loop through the list, but when in the course of iteration or looping through, when we reach the fruit mango, there should be a break in the iteration or in the loop. So once we see mango, the looping should stop and it shouldn't move on to the other fruits. So basically that's what the break function does in for loop. You can use it to cut or to stop an iteration or to stop a loop. Okay. In this example, we are going to use for loop to create a range of numbers. So in Python, you can create a range of numbers using the for loop. So for, let's say, number underscore range. So number underscore range is the variable that we are declaring or we want to store the range in. Then we use the range method in Python. Then we print out, so we're going to print out the number range. Right, so inside the range method, we need to provide the range that we want. Okay, so we want to provide range of, let's say, 10. So this is going to print out from 0 to 9. So as I said, in programming or in Python, always an index of 0. When you want to create a list, it starts from an index of 0. Or when you want to count or indexes in Python starts with 0. So you see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that gives 10 numbers. So this is how we can create a range of numbers, right? But we can also decide on the starting point for our range. So in this example, we want the range to start from 2, or the index of the range to start from 2. So this is what we get: 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So in this, we've created a starting point for the range. Okay. Then we can also use incremental options to create a range. Yeah. And to do that, we can say we want it to start from, let's say, 2. Then we provide a third parameter which will serve as the incremental value. Right, so let's see the output for this. So what this means is that we want to start from 2, but we want it in an incremental value of 3. So 2 plus 3 is 5, 5 plus 3 is 8. We can go as many as we want. Right, we can even start from 1. Okay, so 1 plus 3 is 4. We can change the incremental value, 1 plus 5, 6, in that order. So this is how you can use for loops in Python. So we talked about how we can create for loops, how we can iterate over lists, strings, and also how we can use break to cut a loop or cut a for loop iteration. And also we looked at how we can use the for loop to create a range of numbers. We also looked at how we can use start points and also use increment in for loops. Okay, so thanks for watching. See you in the next lecture.